On November 26 at Chowk, Islamabad, in the middle of the night, the Pakistani army opened fire on peaceful PTI protesters in Pakistan, conducting a brutal onslaught, killing seemingly hundreds of people and injuring many more. Security forces also arrested thousands of the demonstrators. The full scale of the bloodshed is still an ongoing development, as it's being covered up and pushed under the rug by the Pakistani military, the media, and the West. There are reports of the army hiding and even burying the bodies themselves shortly after the killings. This horrendous event has been dubbed the Islamabad massacre and resembles some of the worst military crackdowns on protesters in history, such as Tiananmen Square or the Rabah massacre in Egypt. There are many reasons why you may not have heard about it, but for my mostly American audience, it's because our country and current administration supports this extreme army regime in Pakistan against the will of the majority of Pakistani people. So there is little to no reporting of it, and if there is, it's mainly regurgitated propaganda aimed at reinforcing military state narratives. This massacre should be brought to light and the perpetrators held accountable. For context, Pakistan is the 5th most populous country in the world, with a population of about 240 million people, 60% of whom are under the age of 30. It's also a nuclear-armed state, with an army of around 700,000 active personnel. Since gaining independence in 1947, the military has directly ruled the country for a collective 30 years. And in the periods between military rule, they still exerted extreme influence through the use of puppet governments. Pakistan has received tens of billions of dollars in aid from the United States, which especially ramped up in the Cold War, during which Pakistan was the second largest recipient of US aid, behind only Israel. However, much of this aid was diverted to enrich military generals and corrupt politicians, most notably General Bajwa, whose family's net worth skyrocketed to around 57 million US dollars. Meanwhile, Pakistan's per capita income remains the lowest in South Asia, a region already home to some of the world's poorest nations. Over a third of workers in Pakistan earn less than $4 US per day. PTI stands for Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, or Pakistan Movement for Justice, and is the political party of ex-Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan. After multiple assassination attempts on his life, Khan has been unjustly held in jail for over a year now on bogus charges. In February, Khan won from jail, sweeping a 2/3 majority in the elections. This was while his entire party was banned from using their symbol or name. This means that everyone in every jurisdiction that won for PTI ran as independents with random symbols and affiliations. Despite winning in an overwhelming manner from his jail cell, the army rigged the election and stole the mandate from the voters in Pakistan. This was wild to see in real time, as Khan's stunning victory was being reported all over Western media, but when I congratulated some people I know that support him, they literally laughed and said, just wait till tomorrow. And then tomorrow came and they were right. This happened just 1 month after Bangladesh held illegitimate elections and the United States condemned them openly and vehemently. Then Bangladeshans pushed it under the rug and, to the best of its abilities, continued to kill any sense of true revolution in Pakistan. Yesterday, December 2nd, a draconian amendment was proposed in Parliament which elevates the sharing of fake news, the definition of which is determined by the current regime, to be an unbailable offense, punishable by fines up to 1 million rupees and or up to 5 years in jail. It also expands the definition of social media within the law to include even accessing certain platforms and the use of tools to do so, potentially criminalizing the use of things like VPNs. Whether through threats to people speaking out or their families, including kidnappings, in this moment there is no semblance of freedom of speech in Pakistan. For this video, I interviewed a number of people currently living in Pakistan. In order to protect their identities, their faces have been blurred and their voices have been changed.
Everything has been like, they want to control everything. X has been completely banned, WhatsApp is being closely monitored, your chats and what you're talking about with any of your personal contacts.
It is also our right to have internet or access to social media, access to other media channels, but no, nothing. All those channels are in control of the government and upper authority.
Just doing it, it's not a crime, but if you speak about it, it's the biggest crime of the century you have ever done. I think speaking against something is the biggest crime in Pakistan, right?
Cut the internet and unloaded live rounds at peaceful protesters, slaughtering them in the process. The state is hiding bodies and pressuring hospitals and journalists to deny that even a single person was killed. through intimidation, kidnappings, and threats of facing a similar fate to those already slaughtered.
I'm scared for my family and for my future. I mean, if people start complaining, they try to control them, they try to repress their voices. They started arresting different people whenever a person wanted to raise voice, they will arrest him or his family.
They knock upon the door of a home and ask them to give us some meal. We want to eat. After 2 days, the military came in and they said, oh, you have given the meal to terrorists, although they were belonging to the military. They will create a problem for you. When you say something, they will declare you as a terrorist, and your plaza or your multi-story building is gone. It will be under their control. Even if they like a home, a house which is a very good place and belongs to just a public person, they will try to take over it. I mean, it's like a robbery.
The brutal military opened live fire at groups on the ground and even used snipers on their own people. Senior PTI leader Umar Ayub Khan reported in a press conference that the weapons used in this massacre were the Remington 700 and the M60, both of which are American-made. These weapons were given to the Pakistani army by America to assist the Pakistani security forces in fighting against terrorism. Instead, they were used to kill their own people who were peacefully protesting. In addition to all those killed and injured by the army, up to thousands more have been arrested. This is abuse by the state and quite literally terrorism. The Guardian reported that doctors at hospitals in Islamabad said they had received multiple patients with gunshot wounds. The Guardian witnessed at least 5 patients with bullet wounds in one hospital, which was surrounded by police. A doctor who was on duty in the emergency ward on Tuesday night said he had treated more than 40 injured patients, several of whom had been shot. At least 7 have died and 4 are in critical condition in the hospital, he says. 8 more have been admitted to the hospital with bullet wounds. Another doctor, speaking to the BBC on condition of anonymity for fear of retribution, said that he had never performed so many surgeries in a single night as he did the night of the massacre. Some of the injured came in such critical condition that we had to start surgeries before we could even wait for them to be anesthetized. There were many patients who had lost a lot of blood, another doctor at the polyclinic said. We had such a rush that we did 2 surgeries on one bed. I will never forget what I saw here that night. The Minister for Information and Broadcasting, Atta Tadar, said there had been no firing on PTI protesters and no fatalities. The Interior Minister, Mohsin Naqvi, said in a statement that officers had bravely repulsed the protesters. However, there's overwhelming evidence that this is not the case, that they are lying. Along with deaths and bullet wounds confirmed by video footage taken inside and outside of hospitals, there's currently a massive list of missing persons, with more names being added to it every day. As of today, December 4th, PTI Chairman Gohar Khan revealed that there are over 5,000 PTI workers missing 8 days after the massacre. No one knows if they are dead or alive. Polyclinic, after sharing a list which clearly indicated a number of deaths and almost 30